in this lecture, I want to walk you through an interesting template. This actually came up in Adventure Media over the last couple of weeks with a specific client, and it led me to build this template out for him, and it was highly effective in accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish. So I thought I would share this template with you and explain the situation, because I think if you're really, it's equally as relevant whether or not you're running an agency and you're doing this stuff for clients, or this is potentially relevant for your own business. And it centers around the idea of offering a free trial. Now, I personally believe that no amount of good advertising could save or salvage a poor product. You have to have a good product. You have to have a good service. You're not going to be successful without that. You can't advertise your way around a bad product or a bad service. So we've gotten that out of the way. That's something we could all agree on, I'd imagine. Now, you have a good product. The question is, do you trust in human nature enough to offer a free trial? We're moving in the direction where, most companies are offering free trials. Like, that's something which is very common. It's certainly something which is happening. This is something you see very common in software as a service businesses. Like if you've signed up for Spotify or Apple Music recently or Netflix, you input your credit card number and you have a 7-day trial. You don't get charged up front. And if you like the service, you pay. And that's a trend around the idea of let people access the value that we offer. They'll get hooked on it. They'll see that it's really valuable and they'll be willing to pay us. And that is something that a lot of small business owners don't tend to do. They sort of ignore. But I think it's like a very effective thing to do, whether you're e-commerce or not. Now, with e-commerce, typically companies offer a 30-day return policy, but I'd like to advocate that there might be instances where you should offer, we'll send you the product, and if you like it, pay us for it after a certain amount of time, like if it's something which is substantial. So let's say you're sending out home furnishings or something like that, or clothing, right? So it's not necessarily an ongoing subscription-based service or e-commerce product. So you could say, okay, we'll ship you this coat or we'll ship you this couch for free, no payment up front. We'll take your credit card information. If you like it, then we'll charge your card, let's say 7 days after receipt. I know this is a pretty novel concept, but I think it could work in a lot of applications as it's working for this specific client I'm going to tell you about. And if you don't like it, send it back, mail it back to us. And we're that confident that you're going to love this, and we're willing to ship it to you. We're willing to send it to you. We're willing to give you access to it without any upfront payment. You see it. If it's having its promised effects, or if it's having the benefits, or if it's the quality and type, etc., and size that you're looking for, we'll charge you for it. If not, you just mail it back to us, and there's no money up front. An offer like that is really hard to turn down. Most people would take you up on such an offer. It's like a really, really compelling claim. But when you present this idea to a client, or when you think about offering free things, it's very scary, because it's like, well, I now need to incorporate the cost. I need to incorporate the amount of money I'm spending on shipping into my entire funnel, and that could become very overwhelming. So in any event, this template is built to help project the potential benefits financially of offering a free trial, because you can't just go either for yourself or for a client and say, okay, we're going to try this free trial. You have to really know your numbers, and you have to really understand the concepts if you're going to potentially go and make this test. And it should fundamentally come down to whether or not you're more profitable, right? That's how you phrase and that's how you conceptualize any test in advertising. The goal is to continue to sell our goods and services at a profit, and then if we're profitable, the goal is to then increase that profit margin. That's the true mark of a successful advertiser. So you can't just go based on conjecture. You can't just go into it saying maybe this will work out better. You need to really know what needs to happen in order for us to make more money doing this. Because if you could make more money doing this, then fronting the cost for your product to a customer shouldn't really matter, and it shouldn't really be considered any different than what you're paying Google for clicks or what you're paying Facebook for clicks, etc. Wherever you're advertising, it should just be considered an advertising cost. And this template that we're looking at here allows you to model exactly that. So let's walk through the components of this template, and then we'll break it down into a couple different scenarios. Oh, well, first I'll tell you about this scenario I have with this client, which led me to build this template this past week. So we have a relatively new client that sells joint pain relief, and they were spending about $1 million for the last like 25 years, around $1 million a month on direct mail advertising, which is crazy. I've read a lot of the history of direct mail advertising, and it's always something which has fascinated me. And I definitely suggest that you guys read up on the history of direct mail advertising, because the whole idea of testing and traced ads and keyed ads and coupons all came from the masters of direct mail. The Robert Collier letter book is a great book to read, very interesting, written in the 1930s. But direct mail still exists. It was the first time that I was personally working on an account that I think probably had any direct mail history. Actually, no, that's not true. We've had other clients that still do direct mail, but this was for sure the only client that was relying on direct mail and successful with direct mail to this degree, basically spending somewhere in the range of $1 million a month on direct mail. And they saw the writing on the wall that direct mail over the years is becoming a little bit less and less effective, and they wanted to transition some budget and to see if they could become successful with online advertising. And we took on the account and took a performance-based bonus, because I think that there's a lot of potential to scale here, so on and so forth. So the idea is we brought on the client, and they were basically offering bottles of this joint pain relief, where if you buy one bottle, it's full price. If you buy 2 bottles, you get like a half a supply for free. 3 bottles gives you 2 extra bottles for free. So like a really, good, medium, best value offer tiered system like that. And started off with Facebook advertising, and took a little bit of time and testing to get any profitable structure in place. But now that we have a profitable structure in place, things are going well, and we're like, okay. And my sense was like, listen, if you can get somebody to try this for free and it helps joint pain relief, you're almost guaranteed a sale. And the client's pushback a little bit was, well, okay, but now we have to front the cost of the supply of the medication. And I said, fair enough. Well, let's go model this out and see what it would take for us to be making more money doing that. And this is where this template was born from. This is actually a nicer, more elaborate version of the template that I sent him, but this is really cool for you guys to use. So there's a couple different components of this template, so let's take a look. This over here, this first column of metrics, this is the direct sales funnel scenario. This is your typical scenario where you're running a Google Ads campaign, a Facebook Ads campaign, you're getting clicks to your website, you have costs associated with it, you're making a certain amount of sales, you have your conversion rate, and all those good things. And on the right-hand side, I was going to give it a little bit of a different background color just to keep it separate. And on the right-hand side over here, this is your potential funnel using all these metrics on the left, where you're offering something for free. You're making a free offer. And you could model out what would happen under this scenario. So, a couple things to remember. Anything in black is something which is editable by you. So you could model, I like to model out these scenarios with like 100,000 impressions or whatever it is, but you can go much less. So you could say, okay, let's say we're dealing with 10,000 impressions. I have 10,000 impressions, and everything will work the same way. And then you have your starting click-through rate. So you look back at the click-through rate that you're getting for this campaign that you might want to test. So we were running Facebook campaigns, and we were getting around a 2% click-through rate. And you just put in the actual metrics so this left-hand side should actually reflect what is actually happening right now in your campaigns. So a 2% click-through rate gives you 200 clicks, and then you put in your average CPC at the time. So our average CPC was around $3, and you enter that in manually. That gives you a cost of ads in this scenario of $600. Your conversion rate you put in manually over here, which was around 5% for us, which meant that for every $10 we were generating 10 sales. Our total cost was $600 because the only cost we're accounting for here is the cost of ads. Our revenue was $1,500 because I'm gonna get to this part over here in a second, but your revenue is depending on what your revenue is. So let's say your revenue is $150 on average per sale. You're making $1,500 in revenue. That will change for you depending on your total revenue. Your ROAS is 2.5, and your profit is $1,050. And your profit is $1,050 under this scenario. Now it's worthwhile jumping for a second here and looking at these left-hand metrics. So a few different things are going to happen when you offer a free trial, or a few different things should happen, okay? Your click-through rate should increase. And in these little description cells, I have explanations on what's going on with these metrics. So your click-through rate should increase because your ads will now be offering a free trial. That should be more appealing. Like, try it with no upfront payment. So your click-through rate should increase. So if it's increasing, if you project it'll increase by 4 times, which is very reasonable, then you put in 4. If it increases by 3 times, you put in 3, and that's going to change all the metrics on the right-hand column. Your cost per click should decrease. Your cost per click should decrease because as your click-through rate increases, both Google and Facebook award you, like, it's like quality score, with lower CPCs in the auction. So if you want to be conservative, maybe you'll see a 30% CPC decrease. Your free trial conversion rate. What percentage of people who take the free trial turn into paying customers? And you could change this percentage around as well. It could be 30%, whatever. Your conversion rate increase. This is what's going to move up the most because your conversion rate on a page that's asking for an upfront payment, even with a 30-day trial, is going to be much less than a landing page that says, here, put in your credit card details. We're not going to charge you a penny today. So that might go up by 3 or even 4 times or even 5 times, whatever it may be. So if your conversion rate is going to go up 4 times, you put in 4. Your free offer cost is how much it costs you, the business, to send out a free offer. So if your product costs $100, including shipping, you're not what a customer would pay, what your actual costs are. So if you sell something for $500, but your cost per item is $100, then you put in $100 there. In our case, it was around $8, but you could change that around. Maybe it's $6 per free trial. If you're a software service, it's going to be less. It might be next to nothing. Like if I'm giving an offer on some of my content that I sell, there's no cost to me to do that. Okay, but maybe it's $12, whatever it may be. And then your revenue per sale. What is your average revenue per sale? And I should put average there. All right, so maybe your average revenue, again, this is not profit, your average revenue. So let's say it's $150, or maybe it's $175 if you're a service business or you're a plumber. Maybe your average revenue per customer is $500, whatever it may be. And then your profit margin. So out of this $500, what percentage is profit? So maybe you're operating at a 40% profit margin and not a 70% profit margin. All those things you could change. So going back down on this left-hand column, there's a couple metrics that pull from there. So you have your total cost is the cost of ads. Your revenue is your total sales multiplied by your average revenue per sale, obviously. Your return on ad spend is total conversion value, which is revenue divided by your cost. And your profit takes your revenue multiplied by your profit margin. And to get this a little bit more accurate, it should really be revenue, because we want to get a clear sense as possible. Revenue minus your cost multiplied by your profit margin. That gives you $1,760 in revenue. All right, so it's going to be a little bit less than we had before, right? We had $2,000, but it's really $1,760 once you account for your cost of ads. So just make sure we're doing this properly. You have your revenue minus your $600 cost multiplied by your 40% profit margin. All right, and if you have a 70% profit margin, that number is obviously going to go up. It's $3,000. Okay. So that's what's happening in your direct sales funnel situation here. So these should be your actual numbers. So for every, let's say, 10,000 impressions that you're getting on whatever ad platform, these should be your basic numbers. And if you go up to 50,000, everything will change accordingly. Okay, so moving over to the right-hand column with the free offer funnel, the impressions will be the same, and this actually should be in blue since it's not editable, because it's going to be equal. You want to look at a similar environment. Now your click-through rate goes up to 6% because we have a 3-time CTR increase. So maybe it's going to increase by 2 times. That'll give us a CTR of 4. So you can play around with these different models. You'll be getting 2,000 clicks, double the amount of clicks. Your average CPC will be $2.10. Your ads cost will be $4,200. Your conversion rate. So this is the conversion rate of people checking out for the free trial. So because we said our conversion rate increase is 4, we go from a 5% conversion rate to a 20% conversion rate. If our conversion rate increases 8 times, we go from a 5% conversion rate to a 40% conversion rate. And that's not crazy, but maybe you want to be a little bit more conservative and model out a 6 times. So instead of a 5% conversion rate for when you're asking people to actually buy it, a true free trial, maybe you'll get a 30% conversion rate, which gives you 600 offers claimed. Now your free offers cost, like this is the important part of this additional column. You're now paying $7,200 extra, more than or close to double your ads cost for these free offers, right? So $7,200. comes from taking the free offers claim, multiplying that by your free offer cost over here of $12. So that gives you $7,200 of additional cost for this type of marketing. And this is what scares your client off, or this is what might scare you off from the get-go. Like in this scenario, I'm paying $3,000 to Google, and that's my sort of marketing cost for this funnel. In this scenario, I'm paying an additional $7,200, which gives me an $11,400 cost. Right? I'm almost quadrupling. The amount of money I'm spending on the ads, but look at the results and look what happens. Okay, so actual sales, if I have if my free trial conversion rate is 30%, right? I take my total free offers claim 60 and I multiply that by 30%, and that gives me 180 actual sales. My revenue from those are 180 times C17, which is my average revenue per sale. Right, so over here I had $25,000 of revenue, and over here I have $90,000 of revenue. My return on ad spend over here is 7.9 times return on ad spend. My profit is my revenue minus my total cost multiplied by my profit margin, which gives me $31,444 of profit. So in this scenario, the total cost increased by 280%, and the total profit increased by 257%. So now this is a scenario which looks very good, but it's also not perfect, because you want to see your profit percent increasing more than the total cost, because the argument could be made, well, this performed better, but maybe I could have just upped my budget and spent more money on ads and came out in the same way. Sure, fair enough. If these were all the numbers exactly how they are, you could make that argument, but it's not necessarily true that you could just take $3,000 and spend $12,000 on the same keywords in the same campaign. Sometimes it's very, very difficult to scale profitably. So while you might not even be increasing your profit margin in every scenario, this is a way that you could increase your actual profit at the end of the day. You've earned $22,000 more in profit, which you might not have earned otherwise, because it's not just the case that you could infinitely scale up your budget and keep things the same through Facebook and Google advertising. It's just not the case. Usually as budget scales, these numbers, the conversion rate gets lower, the cost per click gets more expensive. So this is one way to do that. But you could actually take a look at a different potential scenario, and this all depends on your business. So say your CPC decrease was 50%, your CTR increased by 3, your free trial conversion rate was actually 50% of people who got a free trial decided to keep it. Your conversion rate increase maybe was only 5. And just now, with a couple of these changes, we're seeing a totally different story. So over here, total cost increased by $10,500, which was a 350% increase in cost, but your profit increased $60,000, which was a 700% increase in profit. So you went from an ROAS of 8.3 to 13.9. Even though you significantly increased your total cost, you went from a total cost of $3,000, you more than quadrupled your cost, right? You would have, you did more than 4 times your cost. 4 times your cost would have been $12,000. So I went from spending $3,000 on ads to $13,500 on the same 50,000 impressions, right? So these 50,000 impressions, in the current way, it's costing me $3,000. Over here, I spend $13,500. That's a much, much higher CPM, but I'm coming out much better. I have a 13.9 times ROAS, which is the key metric, which translates into a 691% increase in profit, $60,000 increase in profit, and I'm doing much better because my profit now is increasing at a higher rate than my cost, and that's the key thing here. And I think that this is something which you could accomplish easily in many scenarios, especially if you're a software service. But even if you're like an in-person service business, let's say you're a plumber or you run a trucking company, or you're a consultant of some sort, you could offer something for free to increase that landing page conversion rate, and then you have a much higher chance if your product is good. That's why I started off this lecture by stressing how important a good product is, because if you have a really good product or a really good service, letting people try it for free is a great way, even if that free trial costs you something. You don't want to just throw free things at people's doorstep because that cheapens your product. But if somebody like is searching for it and they come to your landing page and they see that they could get a piece of that for free, or they could try it truly for free, it might be an awesome way to do it, especially if you're running clients. It's a really, really cool test. So once I showed this to my client, we went for it. He changed around the packaging, and there's a bunch of things on the back end you need to change from just a manufacturing perspective, and and logistics perspective to run a test like this, but we're going to be launching this test this coming week. But it's something which is really exciting to me, and I think it should be exciting to you, and it should be something which is very, very useful to you. So you have this template. Remember, you could, if you have to be logged into Google, you go to File, make a copy. You could download it as an Excel version. If you haven't bought the Revenue Maximizer Billing template, it's still on sale. Make sure to buy it today. It's really cool, especially if you're an agency and you're doing this for running campaigns for other people. But this is a very, very good template, I think, to model out what you need to do if you're going to offer a free trial, what your cost of the free trial is, etc. Super useful in lots of different cases, and make sure to leave in the comments how you guys have been using this template. If you have any cases, either you tried doing a true free trial for yourself, for your own business, or you implemented something like this in a client's business, and it's really cool for me to hear if you guys actually use this template to model out what the results might look like. And then, of course, as is the case with all of these templates, you could use this as a predictive model to see like what would happen, but then you could also plug in what actually happened and show your client the actual results. So you run this test for a little while, then you update these metrics on the left in the green boxes with actual numbers, what actually happened, and then you compare the results left and right, see which one was better. This was your control, this was the first one that was running, and this is your new test. And you want to see you really want to look for, is the profit percent increasing higher? Is like if your total cost is increasing by 350%, you want this to be 350% or above. That's the goal, because that would mean by definition your ROAS improved. So anyway, it's a fun template. It's a really worthwhile doing this, and also, just as a last point, approaching your clients with these ideas shows a really great degree of sophistication. A client hires you, okay, you're my PPC guy, you're my SEO guy, you're going to do some copywriting for me, whatever it is. But then you come to the client with like a real strong, compelling case like this with models and data, etc. And you say, like, this is, based on my experience, something really worthwhile trying. You're coming and you're presenting yourself as a very, very strong partner of theirs, because you're thinking out of the box, you're thinking creatively, you're thinking financially, you're preparing spreadsheets. It really makes a night versus day difference in how your client perceives you, how long you'll retain the client for, and how much you'll be able to continue to upsell the client over time. So good luck. I wish you a tremendous amount of profit and success and improved conversion rates, and looking forward to hearing how you guys have all used this sort of template. Cheers for now, and I'll see you in the next lecture.